Name's Mark. I know I've talked to a few of you before, but this is our blacksmith shop here, our temporary shop, but this is where we make many tools for the farm and goods for trading with the First Nations people, axe heads, handles, traps, pitchforks for the farmers. Our apprentice here, Anita, is making a hook to trade with the First Nations people. The fuel we use is coal, pumped by the bellows up through the forge bowl. On the big ships, no. So that was coal was originally coming from England. Then they found some on Vancouver Island, area called Cumberland.
Oh, so quick.
Yeah, when you heat up iron, it's very easy. So I'm heating up the iron here. A blacksmith back when he was trying to make lots of things, he would have had 10, a dozen pieces in there, you know, and he'd be pulling it out. He'd have 3, 4 guys working here. One guy a hammerman on the anvil, one guy working the heat, one guy cutting the iron to different sizes. Okay, so we'll heat that up again. Have you been to Stanley Park yet in Vancouver?
Oh.
It's a big park, 1,000 acres. This farm, Hudson's Bay Company, so they had to make many tools, like a shovel. What is a shovel for? Well, digging their potatoes and their crops and planting their trees. They need many shovel made. Pitchfork, great for feeding your cows hay, cleaning your pigs. Very useful tool if you're a farmer. Made by the blacksmith. This one would have a wood handle in it. Be a pickaxe. Gold miners needed one of these because 30,000 men went up the Fraser River there. Here in 1827, there was people on this land called First Nations or natives. They relied on bone and stone and shells to do all their carving and filleting. Hudson's Bay brought over metal, made axes. This was the #1 trade item besides these blankets that I'm wearing. They liked these. This here size cost you 2 beaver skins. So if you were a First Nations fella, you'd bring in 2 beaver skins and you'd get yourself a nice shiny axe head. Nowadays everybody goes whip-de-doo. That's kind of how you would make a nail. Stretching the wrought iron.
Oh.
Now,
Sharp.
put a little of this stuff on it. Wax. A lot of times we use beeswax, but I'm out of beeswax today. So I'm just going to use regular candle wax. What it does, it prevents rusting. Gets into the pores of the hot iron, like you and me. We have pores on our skin. This gets into the pores of the hot iron and prevents that from happening. Okay, now we'll dip it in my quenching bucket. The heat pretty much dissipates out of it instantly. And we got ourselves a little creation here. What would we use it for? Well, the extra ones I make, I take home to my farm and hang my cow's halter on it. Around the fort in 1839, they'd hang them and they'd hang salmon. The First Nations people would hang their salmon on it to dry. Or how about the gold miners would hang them in trees to hold their supplies. I don't know what you use it for in Hong Kong, but it's yours, sir. Don't put it on your overcarriage.
Thank you. This is
The birthplace of British Columbia, okay? The Hudson's Bay Company came here because they wanted fur. They wanted beaver, they wanted fox, they wanted all kinds of furs. The First Nations people, they brought in many things to trade. Salmon was a big item in the Fraser River. Cranberries, very high in vitamin C. So this here is the barrel making. This is where they made barrels, buckets, and butter churn. Okay, so this was all used for the Hudson's Bay farmer. How you would make a barrel? Using white pine or Douglas fir. This is called the Cooper's horse. They would cut these called staves. Okay, so using a piece of Douglas fir or white pine, we put the stave in the cooper's horse, and then we use one of these sharp knives called a draw knife. Turning the stave around. Start to cut the sides to make the barrel fit tightly. Okay, so now we got the stave starting to take shape. We would put 2 hoop around the barrel. Okay, metal hoop. Early days, they used wood hoop, vine maple and birch bark. This here is vine maple, very high-tech stuff, even computer can't do that. Look it together.
Why?
Well, because it's too easy. Little computer, I don't know. So I guess, but when you're shipping all this salmon, the Hudson's Bay Company sent back to England, Hawaii. Hawaii bought a lot of our salmon. Okay, that was the #1 place for the salmon. Okay, so then we use metal hoops. They last longer. Okay, so we got 2 hoops over the barrel. Then we flip the barrel over. And as you can see, there's 2 hoops on the bottom now. I gotta pull these tight. So I use this tool called a windlass. We pull the barrel tight. And then I put 1 more hoop over. Like so. This is called the wind, or plane. And we shave the top of the barrel. Make it all even with this blade here. Then we flip over to this blade, and inside the barrel, we got this groove. So, make inside. Okay, so what's called the head of the barrel. Using the head of the barrel, some other apprentice already made these, we put together. And then we lift this hoop up. And we lift that hoop up. Where is my thing? Where is my thing? Here we go. This is a hoop punch. Pull that up. Put the salmon in. Push down and nice and tight. Ready for shipment. #1 thing sold, salmon, cranberries. 99% of barrel would be waterproof or airtight. So
They put any preservative or any
salt.
Salt.
In the salmon, you would put salt. 1 layer salmon, 1 layer salt. This rock salt. A lot of the salt came from Hawaii. So when they take the salmon over, they bring back salt. The cranberry go to San Francisco for gold miners. Very high in vitamin C, helping their teeth not fall out. So, yeah, so this is the cooperage. All the cooperage, yes. Cooperage, 8 men worked in here. 8 men. 1 boss, 7 guy doing different job. So every man have a different job.
So all this. Oh, this. What about this?
This here is just a workshop. This would have been the carpentry shop. Okay, this is the carpentry shop where they would go over houses with no nails. Just post and beam. Post and beam. Post, beam.
And all these all kind of tools.
Old farm tools. Oxen. It's a yoke for 2 cows or oxen would pull this. The plow. This is for hay. Get your umbrella. Let's go to the oldest building. building in British Columbia, Western Canada. Built in 1840. So 171 years old. Okay, it's not all the oldest, but a lot of the timber men would bring in their furs and make a deal. Okay, they wanted a blanket. These blankets, I'm turning mine into a jacket. This would cost 4 beaver skins. This is a price tag right here. It's called beaver points. Everything was based on beaver. 15 muskrat equaled 1 beaver. Foxes was the only thing that was the same as a beaver. So 4 foxes get you this jacket too. But everything was based on beaver. Different colors. All this pressed sheep wool came from England. Okay, so on the big ships, all the supplies came from England. Then the furs that they had here were repackaged into fur bales, like this. Okay, so the fur bale and the voyageurs would bring them in here. Bear skin on the outside because he was the least valuable, keeping the bugs and the salt water and the water out of it and the moisture. And then they'd be labeled where they came from. 1858, Hudson's Bay Company, Thompson River District, so that's little northern British Columbia. Bale 16, weight 95 pounds, okay? Then they repackaged, double the weight, and then they go back on the big ships back to England. So that was a big 6 to 8 month journey, back and forth, bringing supplies, taking furs. Some of the furs that went through here were, of course, you got bear skin. This is mink. This one's the same value as the beaver, the fox skin. You got red fox, silver fox. This one, still many of these little guys out there along the river banks and burrowed in golf course ponds, muskrat. Many little muskrat. This one's my favorite. This is badger. Men's shaving brushes are made from badger hair. Okay, badger, closest badger you see is maybe 5-6 hours away from here, but more northern British Columbia too. But badger, very vicious animal. Another very vicious animal, wolverine. Okay, very coarse animal, but very vicious at the same part. Back here we got some pine marten. This is the part of the weasel family, and they moved a lot of my furs here. But back here, another big one was here it is here, it's the sea otter. Sea otter and river otter. Many of those still out in the river today. And of course, the number one fur they wanted was the beaver skin. Why did they want the beaver skin so badly? Because they were making beaver felt hats for the men in England.
But they weren't long.
No.
They're just tiny.
What they wanted was this part. So children as young as 5 in the factories would pull out these long hairs.
Oh.
They come out easy when you pull against them. So then you're down to the underfur. This is the underfur. Feel the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got the shag on top. You're right. So now we're down to this short. This is the part they wanted.
Then they even shave that down. Huh?
Yeah, they would. But they would shave this off the leather because it all came off the leather. And so they'd have a big pile that's on the table. And then they'd treat it, iron it onto a fluid mold hat. And just put more and more and put it more and more. And it's waterproof and just press it down.
That's the hat
That's an imitation, but that's how they would do it. They have a mold like that. There was 7-8 different styles of hats. But that's what they wanted. This there. So when the beaver trade, when silk was introduced by the Chinese to Britain, the fur trade wasn't as popular here. So this company had to make money off cranberries and salmon. So fur, cranberries, and salmon is how this company survived for 70 years. But this was the number one reason we were explored here in Western Canada, because they were chasing the almighty beaver. That's why it's on our Canadian nickel now.
Yeah.
Great. That's very interesting.
Next building, guys, is a theater. So if you guys are all at the same time there, just press the button, hit English, and it'll tell you more about the fort. I'm going to catch up to my school group.
Okay.
All right.
And enjoy your visit.
There's all right. Thank you.
These are all the blankets.
Thank you, sir.
The blankets you say they take their.
Send your pictures to the fort here. Attention, Mark. Mark. M-A-R-K.
That's like 4.5. 3.5.
That's actually not true. That's not the boat.